Hey there, I'm Kevin. This is Pack and Roam. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Flextail ZERO Flashlight 1200, which is a tiny little flashlight with a max output of 1200 lumens. So pretty impressive for its size. Full disclosure, Flextail did send me this flashlight for review purposes. I've been using it for a few weeks and there's definitely some things I like about it. There's a couple things I don't like about it. Let's dive in and I'll give you the lowdown on the Flextail ZERO Flashlight 1200. So starting with materials and specs, this flashlight is aluminum alloy with an IP67 rating. What is IP67? Well, IP stands for Ingress Protection, and it specifies the level of protection a device has against solids, which would be dust, or liquids, such as water. So it is defined by the International Electrotechnical Commission, also known as the IEC, and the standard is 60529, in case you want to look this up on your own. So the first digit in that number, the IP, first digit is 6 in this case, because this has an IP67 rating. The first digit refers to protection against solids, and it's a 0 to 6 scale. So 6 means it's dust tight. This is rated as a dust-tight device. Dust cannot get into the inside of this. The second digit refers to its protection against liquids. 7 is temporary immersion. So IP67, and according to the manufacturer, this flashlight can be immersed up to 1 meter for 30 minutes, I believe. So that means it gets a 7 rating on the IP scale. So IP67 means this is a relatively protected flashlight in terms of the elements. You're going to be able to use it outside in the rain, no problem. You could use it in a dust storm and not worry about the internals getting screwed up. You could drop it in water and it's still going to work. Pretty critical for anything mission critical. The weight of this flashlight, the advertising is a little bit weird because I believe the marketing says 1.66 ounces, but I believe that is not including the battery, and that it's actually 2.8 ounces with the battery. So let's check that out. Let's put it on a scale. So we do get 2.1 ounces on the scale. The light is about 3 inches, so just a hair under 3 inches in length, and it's about 3/4 of an inch in diameter measuring across. It has a Type-C charger built in, so USB Type-C charger. It comes with a 650 milliamp hour battery, and that will power it for quite a bit of time depending on what you set it for. So max output is 1200 lumens. At 1200 lumens, you're gonna get about an hour at the ultra bright 1200 lumens setting with this light. The high setting is 400 lumens and you're gonna get about 2 hours of runtime at that intensity. The medium setting is 200 lumens. You're gonna get about 3 hours at that setting. 35 lumens is low. This will run for 10 hours in low. And then the moonlight setting is 1 lumen and you can get 200 hours on 1 battery charge. The battery lasts significantly longer than any of the compact flashlights I own. Moving on to design and build quality. So we have a very sleek and simple design. I mean, it's basically like a tube. It almost looks like a tube of lipstick. It has a very solid feel to it. It feels durable. We've got the aluminum construction. On the bottom, we've got a removable magnetic tail cap, so that is magnetic. We've got a dual button layout. So we've got 1 button that controls standard modes and then 1 button that controls emergency modes. I'll get into functionality a little bit later. We've got a bi-directional pocket clip. And what I mean by that is that you can use the pocket clip this way and clip it onto something, or you could use it in the opposite direction. So if you wanted to clip this into your pocket down, you go on this side. If you want to clip it to the brim of your hat, you could go on this side. Something as simple as a pocket clip, though, adding that bi-directional feature to it where that clip can be used in either direction is just a good feature overall, because I do, especially with a light like this, if I'm using it as an outdoor light, odds are I'm going to put it on the brim of my hat. That's where I tend to put it, or I might put it up on this side so it's not in my field of vision. But really cool because I can slip it on there very easily and it's going to stay there. I turn it on and I have basically a headlamp. And then we do have the USB-C cover on here. So, you know, there's a charge cover, rubber, and seals up that charging port nicely. This clip is removable. If you want to pull it off, you can pull it off. It snaps back in. The tail cap unscrews to reveal the battery. The battery can charge, if I pull this apart, through the built-in charger on the light, or it has its own USB-C charger built in. So this is the battery that comes standard with it. This is the 650 CHT. That is a 2.4 watt-hour battery. There is also an optional 900 CHT battery, which is a 3.3 watt-hour. And then that will extend the high brightness runtime by about 45 minutes. So pretty convenient that it has a swappable battery. I like that about it because you could have, if you thought you needed it, you could have an extra one. You could bring two, you could bring a spare. In addition to the flashlight, Flextail also sent me the optional EDC case, which I have mixed feelings on it. So on the one hand, it's pretty cool. It's kind of a cool setup. The flashlight snaps in with the clip. So you can see the clip snaps in. Doesn't have great retention though. It can fall out of there if you're not careful. Otherwise, pretty cool fit. That you can see the tail cap fits flush with the back. So machined pretty well in terms of sizing and tolerance. It does provide a cover for the emergency switch, so you can't hit the emergency switch. You can still hit the standard mode switch. You can slide this back and then you have access to the emergency switch. This isn't actually, I mean, it's got a pretty cool setup. So you've got a magnet on the underside of the cap and you've got 3 magnets here. These 2 magnets attract with this one repels. So you kind of got like a detent in there, right? You flip it like that, it's gonna go to that magnet. The problem is sometimes when you close it, it wants to hop off of there. So you can see that magnet pushes it up and then the second magnet kind of grabs it. But if that second magnet doesn't grab it, it'll just fall off. And then we've got kind of a Picatinny rail set up on the bottom with a couple set screws in there. I don't really know. I mean, that's not like a standard size Picatinny. I'm not sure what you would use that for exactly. And then we just got some styling in there. So this almost looks like the upper for a 1911 or something with these machine lines in there. And I think it's kind of meant to mimic that a little bit. We've got a little orange accent on there. So let's talk modes and functionality. And we've got 7 modes across the 2 different hardware buttons. So either button is activated, their respective modes are activated with a double click. That will start the flashlight in the last mode used, depending on how you shut it off. So there's 2 ways to shut it off. You can hold the button down and that shuts it back off, or you can cycle through the available options and the last one will turn it off. In that case, it's always going to start in the first mode, but if you hold it to shut it off, if you do a momentary hold to shut the light off, it will restart in the last mode you had it in. So right now, double click, that starts in moonlight mode. I can single click and it's going to cycle, that's low. Then we've got medium, then we've got high, and then we've got off. Now, if I double click, it's going to start in moonlight again. If I cycle to high, press and hold, I shut it off. Now I double click to restart it, starts in high again. Button 2 is really the emergency mode button. So we've got a ultra bright 1200 lumen beam. We've got a strobe, and then we've got an SOS Morse code mode built in. So let's move on to performance. And I haven't tested battery life against the stated maxes, but I can say that battery life significantly outlasts any of my other smaller size EDC flashlights, which I really like about this light. In terms of beam performance, this has a very wide 120-degree beam angle. So that's going to be good for close range illumination. Think campsite setup, reading maps, cooking, or gear prep in low light. You know, if you were to affix this to the brim of your hat and turn it on, it's going to make a good area work light because you're going to get a good wide 120-degree beam. That's also going to be good for a tight trail if you're hiking, or even a small room if you're in a small room. Urban settings where peripheral vision is critical, so walking or jogging at night, or car interiors, small areas. Also good for photo video where the wide beam helps you avoid hot spots and provides a more consistent lighting across a wider field of view. And then emergency situations where this is going to make it easier to assess surroundings during blackouts or searching for items in the dark. What the wide beam is not good for long distance spotting. So if you need to see something at a distance, you really want a more focused and narrow beam to pick something out at a distance. Also not great for search and rescue, where again, you need a more focused, intense light to pinpoint specific locations or objects. And then signaling would not be a strength of this flashlight because the wide beam is going to be less noticeable at a distance compared to a narrow focus beam. Also under performance is going to be the IP67 rating, which is going to give you peace of mind for outdoor use and especially for critical applications. We'll get into use case scenarios a little bit later in the video. And then the long run time and the battery life of this flashlight is really nice to see in such a small package. All right, let's move on to likes and dislikes. Number one for me on the likes is going to be the compact, lightweight, and simple design. And that's really what attracted me to this flashlight. I always carry a flashlight, and I don't like carrying big flashlights. I like carrying small flashlights, compact, easy. The more powerful, the better. I'm a sucker for brightness to size ratio, so small flashlights that are very bright, and this is a very bright flashlight for its size. Number two is the IP67 rating. I didn't really think much of it, but I started looking into the IP67 rating for some of my favorite everyday carry flashlights, some of which I've been using for a while, and I haven't had issues with longevity of those flashlights. I mean, most of them last just fine. However, I've realized most of them are not IP rated or have a much lower IP rating than this flashlight. I really think this is going to stand up better to outdoor use, which is where I think this would shine. Number three, and I mentioned this in number one, but it gets its own number in the list of likes here. It's impressive brightness to size ratio. So the fact that it does 1200 lumens in this tiny, compact little package is pretty impressive to me. Number four is going to be the bi-directional clip and the magnetic tail cap. So between those two things, you have a whole bunch of different ways that you can use this flashlight. You can stick it to something metal and it's going to stay there. You can reverse it to the brim of your hat and use it almost like a headlamp. You can clip it in another direction. I mean, it's setup wise, and that versatility built in between those two features is just fantastic. And I really like that about this flashlight. And then lastly, number five, depending on what you're looking for, the area illumination of the 120-degree beam angle on this thing is ideal. Let's talk dislikes. And dislike number one, although you don't have to get it with the light, I would say this doesn't provide a lot of value for me, the EDC case. So it's kind of cool. It has a little bit of a fidget factor built into it. I don't like, though, how easily this can fall off. If I'm closing it sometimes, it just wants to pop off. So, and that is very thin. I feel like if that did fall off and you stepped on it, it's done. Although I think based on the way it's built, it doesn't have a whole lot of flex to it, which is pretty impressive for its weight. But I don't really see this providing a whole lot of value to me, and I wouldn't spend the extra money on this. And then number two, as far as dislikes, is the wide beam only. So while that's great for a lot of situations, and I think this is still a very useful flashlight, the fact that it provides a wide beam only definitely makes it less versatile. So if you needed a spotlight, if you needed something to pinpoint an object, this is not going to be the light for you. Overall, though, I do like this flashlight. Very cool setup, very lightweight. Area illumination is good for what I would use this for, which kind of takes us into use case scenarios and who is this light for. So in my opinion, for EDC, it's okay because it's got the lightweight and small compact size going for it, but I typically like to have a more focused beam for an EDC light. To me, where this really shines and where I will most likely use it, and was actually why I was kind of attracted to it in the first place, is for outdoors and camping. So especially, I think this makes a great backup flashlight for your backpacking headlamp, for instance. So if you're going backpacking, you're taking a headlamp with you, good to have. Ideal, you got hands-free operation. If that should fail or you lose it, to me, that's a very critical piece of gear, and this provides a nice lightweight backup solution for that. And then I also think this excels. This would be a great flashlight for emergency preparedness kits. So think get home bags, bug out bags, glove box, very small, space saving, compact, lightweight, packs easily anywhere you want to put it. So what do you think of the Flextail Pro flashlight? I would love to hear your comments. Drop me a line below. Would love to hear your thoughts. And please hit that like button below for me and definitely subscribe to the channel for more gear review content. Thanks.